Let's hi everyone. This is Antiseptic. If you're returning, welcome back from my 2 week hiatus. And if you're new here, hi, what hiatus? Today I'll be sharing my initial thoughts on the Wicked for Good trailer, and my expectations for when the film comes out this November. The day the trailer dropped, I was between work and a production meeting, and spur of the moment, I decided to film my reaction to it. Was it interesting? No. So I'm not going to show it to you. But here are some highlights of my reaction video. Gay. Gay. Those harmonies. Gay. I said what I said. Now, if you know anything about me, or if you've watched any of my previous videos, you will know that I do not joke when it comes to musicals. I love musical theater. I participated in musical theater for most of my adolescence, and movie musicals are why I decided to become a filmmaker. So it goes without saying that I'm a very big fan of Wicked. I had no doubts going into Wicked Part 1, absolutely none. Regardless of who the creative team, the actors, or even the studio ended up being, Hollywood had an obligation to Broadway and theater kids everywhere to not make this a flop. Like, on a much larger cosmic level, I had faith that the Wicked movie, in whatever form that may be, would be a hit. It needed to. And largely, I think it was, regardless of my own personal nitpicks or, issues with it. Part 1 did what it needed to. It made lots of money and it touched people everywhere, but not like everywhere. And got them excited for Wicked Part 2, or For Good. I wonder if they'll rename the first Wicked movie, because I feel like Wicked Part 1 is weird, but whatever. What do I know? It was a huge success. It was a huge success. Look at all the people crying on TikTok over it. It was a slam dunk, a true renaissance for the Wicked fandom. I love, 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 love a John M. Chu production. In the Heights is one of my favorite movie musicals from the 21st century. I think a lot of filmmakers looking to adapt from stage to screen could take lots of note from that movie. So total faith in him. And not for a second when they announced that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande would be stepping into the roles of Elphaba and Galinda, respectively, did my faith falter. Kind of. Cynthia, I have been a fan of for nearly a decade now. I all but screamed when she was cast as Elphaba. I just think that she's one of the most talented singers on the planet. And I'm physically unable to watch her Tony Awards performance of I'm Here without bursting into tears. I knew that she should have been catapulted into Hollywood A-lister status back when she was in Bad Times at the El Royale, so I'm glad that everyone else got with the program. Ariana, a little bit different. A little bit of a different angle going into this. I'm a big fan of her music. I've been following her, well, not her, following her career since she was in 13 the musical. And there may have been a split second of uncertainty when the casting announcement was made, but that was almost immediately replaced with the sentiment of, well, let her prove me wrong, Let her prove everyone wrong who said that she's only a pop girly who needs to stay in her lane. And now, her and her Oscar nomination are doing circles around all these claims, myself included. I also now consider myself a fan of Ariana herself, and I don't need to include the caveat of I like Ariana's music. The whole cast of Wicked, though, is incredible. Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, oh my goodness, cast Marissa Bodie in literally anything and everything ever. Please and thank you. Everyone's performances are great. They look better in Paul Tazwell's amazing award-winning wardrobe and singing Stephen Schwartz's music. Really, what more could you ask for? Quite a bit, actually. While I'm glad that we got the Wicked we got, I was not looking forward to the potential of this, getting the cats or into the woods treatment. I definitely feel like, Wicked Part 1 left a lot to be desired. I'm hoping that Wicked for Good will rectify some of my issues with the first film, but until then, here are some of my criticisms. Truth be told, I wasn't entirely sold on this film the first time I watched it. It took a second watch to understand what my hangups were, and a third watch to really enjoy it. And I don't think that's a bad thing, to engage with a piece of media several times before you, firm up your opinions on it. It was hard to put my finger on it at first, but ultimately I think that my biggest gripe with part one is that it is insanely imbalanced when it comes to Elphaba and Galinda's visual representation overall, but especially in musical sequences. Ariana consistently has, the princess perfect frame. She's perfectly lit, her eyes are clear as day, and there's so much time spent lingering on her reactions to what other people are saying. And I feel like Cynthia's portions just feel so rushed. Obviously, Galinda at this point in the story is like a larger than life character. Her wardrobe and how she dominates the shared space of their dorm is spectacular. That's not the issue, that's the character. So, important distinction. I just don't see the technical aspects of production giving Cynthia the same treatment, particularly before the girls go to Oz. I love that Elfie is understated in this part of the story, largely representing this part of the, her journey that she's in. But I don't like the fact that she blends in, despite the green of it all. Galinda is allowed to inhale, exhale, emote, how many times did Ariana go in the movie? You know what I mean? Yeah, also it just seems rushed. She's shrouded in shadows, which is a great choice, but I want to be able to see her eyes. I'm not sure if it's an issue with filming her dead on with her glasses, but I feel like we've overcome this at this point. I just feel like she's always positioned profile or cheated away from the camera in such a way that she feels like askew in the frame. I think that Cynthia and Marissa Bodie deserved another take or new blocking or something for their portion of Dancing Through Life when Nessa Rose is like, we deserve each other and Galinda helped it come true. That part. They were not framed in a way that is flattering or compelling at all. And while that could be done on purpose, that could be the intention, I just don't think that's done well, if so. Or as well as the framing as Ariana feels, which is full of clear intent. And while the framing of Cynthia in an insecure, submissive way could be the objective, it feels like an afterthought. Elphaba's solo songs particularly suffer from this, and just an attention to detail or an affection that songs like Popular don't, which I also love Popular, whatever, they're great. But I think The Wizard and I starts so strong. It's low-key giving Honey Honey from Mamma Mia. But like everyone else on film Twitter, I think the back half of that sequence when she's running through the field is ugly! Ugly! I don't care about whatever in-universe explanations that John M. Chu is giving, especially if the drought that's supposedly happening is only referenced on a map in the background of a scene with Dr. Dillaman. And I know that it all comes back to the wizard starving and driving out the talking animals of Oz, sure. But I don't buy that location for a second. There can be an in-world explanation as to why a drought is occurring, and the environment can still look compelling. Both can be true. Two things can be true at once. They still could have filmed the ending of The Wizard and I conceptually exactly how they did it, in a field full of dead foliage, suffering from a drought. Just give me something more riveting to look at and give Cynthia a better environment to sing her face off deliciously in. Her riff at the end of The Wizard and I, impeccable. I felt similarly about I'm Not That Girl, but I've kind of come around on that sequence. I just think it could have been beefed up with a bit more dynamic lighting, especially for the portions when she's still in the forest. And then maybe when she returns to Shiz and reality sets back in, as it were, the lighting can return to how it's been, or how it was in the sequence. That being said, I do love how ultimately, simple and understated that song is in the movie. And I'm intrigued to see how they handle the reprise in part 2. I hope they're, lovely mirrored images of each other. Here's hoping. So all that being said, once they get to Oz, the entire thing changes in this aspect. It becomes a whole other movie where Cynthia is more centered. One Short Day is such a blast. It feels so in the heights in the best way possible. The way that Cynthia's brown eyes look golden in the light of the Necronomicon. The way Cynthia's brown eyes look golden in the light of the Grimoire shining on her, it's spectacular. So they do know how to light her eyes. There's just no big musical numbers for so long once we get to this part of the movie, which also leads to this imbalance. But that might just be a personal preference. My boyfriend doesn't like musicals, and he preferred the sections without music, so what can you do? And then, of course, Defying Gravity is a behemoth of an Act 1 finale, and they did it justice, thank God. Took me a while to get used to the pacing of the song and the large gaps with dialogue in between the singing, but that's definitely also a me problem. I spent over a decade listening to this song one way, so getting used to me hearing it another way took some time. So because of that shift in the last hour of the movie being more Cynthia focused, I have faith that that's how part 2 will be as well. I think that Ariana's screen presence, will be just as strong and compelling as before, probably more. And Cynthia will follow in suit, just because there's more for her to do, which might seem obvious. And if that ends up being the case, John M. Chu, I will eat my words. But at the end of the day, I am critiquing part 1 as a full film within itself, and I still think that there is merit to my concerns, regardless if they're able to turn it around with the second movie. Looking back at my notes, that seems to be the most of my criticisms of the movie. It's a great movie otherwise. I'm probably going to have it on in the background while I edit this video. A few drive-by nitpicks, however. Of course, there's the horrendous color grading in the Dancing Through Life sequence. Again, I know there's an explanation that the library is a sterile environment, and it's meant to be juxtaposed against the Oznest Ballroom, but the thing is that Shiz and the surrounding area is still part of Oz. So I would like to see that reflected. Also, speaking of Shiz, what kind of school is it? This is an issue that I have with the stage version as well. I thought it was meant to be a school for harnessing magic, but Galinda doesn't have any innate magical abilities. They also have an agricultural program, probably not a very good one based on the field that Elfie is singing in. Also, in true La Culturista fashion, I need to make my I don't think so honey piece. Bowen Yang, I love you and everything you do. You are an absolute gem in this movie, and you have a long career ahead of you, but I don't think so, honey, that Fanny has more screen time than Bach in this movie. I don't need Bach to be in Galinda's inner circle. I just want more of him in the movie. You would think that Fanny has more to do than Bach in part 2 based on how much screen time he has. And don't even take anything away from Fanny, just give more for Bach to do. Personal circumstances aside, I think that Ethan Slater is a super talented performer, so I guess I'll just have to hold on until November to see if they utilize his skills effectively. Wow, this video ended up being more positive than I expected. This is hardly the scathing review that I thought it would be. But if you want to hear me talk more about movies, musicals, and other storytelling mediums, you should definitely subscribe. I am trying to upload on a weekly schedule, but I was gone the past 2 weeks getting ready and then being out of town for a film festival that I was featured in. I might even do a video on that if that's something that would be interesting. But yes, I directed and I wrote a short film that premiered 2 weeks ago, last week. So yeah, that's why I was MIA for a little bit, but I should be back to my, regular weekly uploads after that. If you want more updates on my process, my life, or just want to find a way to support me, there are links down in the description for that. But yeah. This has been Antiseptic, and thank you for watching.